Every electric vehicle carries a secret clock. Not a dashboard timer. Not the familiar countdown from 100% to zero. A deeper one. A chemical clock, ticking inside the battery pack, cell by cell, cycle by cycle, long before any warning light ever appears. We were told the electric future would be decided by acceleration numbers, charging speed, and range claims measured under ideal skies. But here is where it gets interesting. The true contest may be decided in invisible moments: overnight charging habits, summer heat soak in parking lots, high-load commutes, winter mornings, repeated fast charge sessions when we are in a hurry. And if we cannot manage that invisible wear, the cost is not abstract. It is measurable. In replacement bills, in resale discounts, in warranty strain, in trust. One company is betting that this is the next frontier of the energy solution economy, not just building an electric vehicle battery solution, but actively caring for battery life across years of real use. Its name is ViLife Care, from LG Energy Solution. And tonight, we ask whether systems like this could quietly determine who wins the next decade of electric mobility. In a world electrifying at speed, what matters more now? Bigger packs? Or wiser stewardship of the packs we already have? Degradation is the hidden tax of electric adoption. Not catastrophic, usually. Not cinematic. Just gradual, like compound interest in reverse. A few lost kilometers become dozens. A confident margin becomes a cautious gamble. A buyer's excitement becomes a spreadsheet negotiation. This is where ViLife Care enters the frame. Presented as a lifecycle intelligence layer, it aims to monitor battery condition, interpret stress patterns, guide charging behavior, and support decisions for both private owners and large fleet operators. Think of it this way: if battery chemistry is the engine room, lifecycle intelligence is mission control. Chemistry gives potential. Care protects value. And that leads us to one decisive question: can battery care software become as strategically important as battery chemistry itself? Because if the answer is yes, then the EV race changes shape. The EV era is no longer a forecast. It is infrastructure in motion. Governments are writing combustion sunset timelines. Automakers are redirecting capital at unprecedented scale. Utilities are redesigning load models. Cities are electrifying buses, vans, and delivery networks. Yet outside the clean room, batteries live messy lives. They do not operate in laboratory serenity. They operate in traffic. In humidity. In cold snaps. In rush hour panic. In human habits. Fast charging from 12% before a morning shift. Charging to 100% nightly because certainty feels safer than optimization. Parking under summer sun after highway load. Frequent short hops that never stabilize thermal conditions. Each decision leaves an imprint: microscopic, cumulative, consequential. And those imprints become economics. For drivers, confidence and resale value. For fleets, uptime, route reliability, and margin integrity. For manufacturers, warranty exposure and brand durability. For grid planners, demand timing and stress concentration. So when we say battery care, we are not talking about a niche feature. We are talking about the connective tissue between mobility, finance, and energy infrastructure. Here is the first myth to retire: battery fate is not a single, unavoidable destiny unfolding at one fixed rate. A battery is less like a fuel tank and more like muscle tissue. Train well, recover well, and performance endures. Push recklessly without recovery, and tiny injuries accumulate until they become visible limitation. Inside every cycle, chemistry is negotiating stress, temperature windows, charge rates, depth of discharge, rest intervals, and state of charge extremes. That is why life cycle systems matter. They turn hidden electrochemical strain into signals we can act on, the equivalent of moving from "I feel fine" to a full health dashboard with trend lines, thresholds, and early alerts. And here is the surprising part: at scale, relatively small behavior shifts can create large long-term outcomes. Not magic. Not hype. Just compounding. A battery gently managed across years does not merely last longer, it preserves trust longer. But insight alone is not enough. Knowing risk exists is useful. Knowing when risk is forming is transformational. Preditional maintenance waits for symptoms. Battery lifecycle intelligence attempts the opposite: forecast the pathway before failure signals become obvious, then reduce stress while there is still time. That is the strategic promise behind ViLife Care's solution model. Not simply is the battery alive? But how should this specific battery be treated this week, in this weather, under this usage profile, to preserve health and performance? For fleets, this can become operational choreography, route-aware charging plans, load balancing, and preventive interventions before uptime is threatened. For individual drivers, it can become practical guidance: when to fast charge, when to slow charge, when to avoid topping to full, when ambient heat risk suggests a different routine. A good analogy is preventive medicine. Reactive care asks, what broke? Predictive care asks, what trend can we interrupt now? And this is our next hook: when battery health becomes predictable, it does not just improve engineering outcomes. It starts rewriting financial outcomes. In the combustion era, mileage told most of the story. In the electric era, mileage tells only part of it. Two similar vehicles can carry very different battery histories and therefore very different future value. Lifecycle intelligence platforms make that difference visible. They help convert batteries from opaque black boxes into auditable assets, where condition can be tracked, verified, and compared with greater confidence. If that standardization matures, second-hand markets become less speculative. Buyers gain confidence. Lenders price risk more accurately. Insurers calibrate exposure with better granularity. Lessors structure contracts around measurable condition, not broad assumptions. And behavior changes when behavior is priced. Careful stewardship gets rewarded. Neglect gets discounted. Here is the deeper implication: one of the largest EV value unlocks may not come from selling more new vehicles. It may come from preserving more value across first ownership, second ownership, and beyond. When a battery no longer delivers ideal automotive performance, it may still retain substantial utility for stationary storage, where weight, acceleration, and peak power demands differ dramatically. Degraded for a car can still mean valuable for the grid. That is one of the most powerful transitions in the energy landscape: mobility batteries becoming infrastructure batteries. Life cycle data is the bridge. Documented usage history, thermal exposure, cycle behavior, and health trajectories help determine whether a pack should be reused, repurposed, or recycled. Without data, second life becomes guesswork. With data, second life becomes design. And suddenly the system stops looking linear: build, use, discard, and starts looking circular. Mobility feeds storage. Storage supports renewables. Recycling recovers materials for next-generation cells. A well-managed battery ecosystem does not merely reduce waste. It links transport and power into a unified lifecycle architecture. So if the upside is this clear, why is universal adoption not already locked in? Here is the twist: the biggest obstacles to advanced battery care are no longer just electrochemical. They are institutional. To optimize battery behavior, systems need data, lots of it. Driving profiles, charging habits, thermal patterns, fleet schedules, geographic and seasonal context. And then the hard questions arrive: who owns that data? Who can access it? How portable is it across brands and platforms? How transparent is the model turning raw data into recommendations? There is also a strategic tension in the market. If lifecycle intelligence remains tightly proprietary, optimization may improve inside closed ecosystems while interoperability suffers outside them. Great for tightly integrated players. Potentially limiting for consumer choice, cross-platform service continuity, and independent diagnostics. And then there is the oldest challenge in technology adoption: human behavior. Even the smartest system can suggest healthier charging windows. But convenience has gravity. If users ignore advice because urgency wins, optimization weakens. If incentives do not align, best practice stays optional. So the central conflict is no longer electric versus gasoline. It is intelligence versus entropy. Can the industry align technology, incentives, standards, and trust quickly enough to make lifecycle care a universal baseline, not a premium add-on? Step back, and the pattern becomes unmistakable. The EV transition was never simply a hardware swap, engine out, motor in. It is a system redesign. From a disposable fuel model to an intelligent lifecycle model. From one-time product transactions to continuous performance stewardship. LG Energy Solutions' ViLife Care sits inside that shift as a signal of where the market is moving, from manufacturing batteries alone to managing battery value over time. If this model succeeds at scale, the consequences are concrete: longer usable performance for EV owners, lower total cost trajectories over ownership cycles, stronger residual values in second-hand markets, more resilient fleet economics, better integration with second life storage and circular recovery pathways. In plain terms, the winners of the next EV decade may not be the companies that merely build the biggest packs. They may be the ones that help every pack age with intention. The battery revolution is not only happening in factories. It is happening in decisions, millions of small ones, repeated daily, encoded into how we charge, drive, rest, and manage. So next time someone asks, how far can this electric vehicle go? Ask the more revealing question, how well can this battery be cared for across its entire life? Because in the electric age, endurance is the new horsepower. And the future may belong not to the loudest breakthrough, but to the quietest discipline, the discipline of care.